Hey guys, it's Phoebe. I hope you're all safe and well. Okay, so, oh, I was so angry with Armchair Detective. Oh, he's just been talking an absolute load of rubbish. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He hasn't done his research. He is just talking a load of rubbish. Okay, guys, buckle up.
So, if I get to the point of why I'm here and the actual crux of it,
Yes, AD, get to the point and the crux
of
of
what I
it.
said, why were they so keen for Chris Watts to take the plea deal? Why did they lock him away with no books, no letters from his family, no visits from his family, and just kept saying, if you don't take the plea deal, we're going to go for the death penalty and you'll die?
Okay, so let's just remind ourselves who actually came up with the plea deal. It was the defence team, they took it to the prosecution. It was not DA Rourke who came up with the plea deal.
Why was this drummed into him? Why?
I don't know that it was drummed into him, AD.
Well, it's going to be one of a few things. It's going to be because there's a cover-up for Indarko's sake, to say, because there's going to be compensation and stuff. That's one theory.
Is it? Where's the proof? Where is your proof, AD?
Or NK's dad is a Mason and he's got the power to stop, to have control over the DA, and they're trying to save NK, woman formerly known as NK.
As I don't live in America, I have no idea whether that type of thing actually happens in real life. But again, where is your proof, Armchair Detective?
Or the one that's most plausible and the one everybody thinks is true. Out of Rourke's 10 murder cases, 8 were plea deals.
So let's just have a look at some stats. I've taken this from a few sources, one being Fair Trials, and it reads, more than 97% of federal criminal convictions are obtained through plea bargains, and the states are not far behind at 94%. And when they say states, they don't mean the states of America. They meant state cases as opposed to federal. And these figures are taken from Fact Tank, Pew Research Centre. Jury trials accounted for fewer than 3% of criminal dispositions. DA Rourke's 8 out of 10 is 80%, so that's actually lower than the 94% quoted. So in effect, that means that 20% of DA Rourke's cases go to trial, as opposed to the previous figures of 6%.
So therefore, you've all thought, and I've thought for ages, right, until last night, that was because I want to save money. If he's the DA, his job is to save money.
Couple of things that I forgot to mention. You may hear some buzzing noise in the background. That is AD's end. I don't know what causes it. I think it's his internet going off or something on his phone. And also there is quite a lot of Armchair Detective talking in this video. But as the DA, I would say part of his role is to save money, but his main role is to provide justice for the victims. However that may come around, whatever is best at the time for everyone, especially the victim and their family. And we all know that DA Rourke flew to North Carolina to discuss this with the Rzucek family before he made any decision.
So if they can get a plea deal arranged, it saves a fortune. And that's what I always thought the real reason was, that they went so hard for a plea deal.
The prosecution didn't go hard for any plea deal. It was the defence team that came forward with the plea deal.
To save money. Because in this country, when the police have a file on somebody who say they've got reasonable evidence that somebody committed a robbery, right? They don't just like, that's it then, we take him to trial. No, they've got to take it to a public prosecution guy.
It's actually called the Crown Prosecution Service, Armchair Detective, CPS.
In your case, a judge. In your case, a judge.
Now, again, I don't live in America, but I thought it was the DA that took on the case. The DA decides whether to prosecute or not. I did have a little look at this to do some research, and I could find nowhere that a judge makes the decision. Bear with me. I took this from the United States courts. Only the government initiates a criminal case, usually through the US Attorney's Office, in coordination with a law enforcement agency. I do believe that a judge may ultimately decide whether it will go to trial through a probable cause hearing, or sometimes a grand jury may indict somebody, but it's not a judge that makes that initial decision. It's the DA or the US Attorney General, I guess. I'm not sure who that is, but I think the DA might work for him. Either way, it's not a judge. The judge may decide not to take a case to trial at a probable cause hearing, but ultimately the DA will, or the prosecutor will, decide whether to take it to court initially. I do hope I've got that right. If not, I apologise, and I will apologise to Armchair Detective as well if I'm wrong. He's struggling here.
And say, I think we should take this guy to court. And the public prosecution says, yeah, but will we win? It's not just about saving money. If we take him to court, will we win?
Now, I must admit I was a bit confused at this stage. I believe he's still talking about the UK Crown Prosecution Service, not the United States rules. I'm not really sure what he's talking about, to be honest, but he's making some comparison to DA Rzucek.
And the public prosecution says, yeah, but will we win? It's not just about saving money. If we take him to court, will we win? I don't know. We might lose. Well, let's offer him a plea deal. We'll offer you a lesser sentence if you just say, yeah, I did it, and it will save us money.
Again, it wasn't the DA who offered him the plea deal. It was Chris Watt's own defence team. They went to DA Rzucek with the plea deal, not the other way round.
Remember I told you? They only had it as a crime scene for 2 hours.
Oh my goodness, I don't know how many times I've got to say this. That is not true. I'll show you a bit later.
What if they've got no evidence on Christopher Watts? Nothing. No physical evidence, no fingerprints, nothing. Don't you realise they cannot then seal it off, get the guys in their white suits on, take the forensic evidence down, and then they've got it all, and then it comes to a trial and they've got to give it to the defence. And all it proves is that Chris didn't do anything. They don't want a crime scene. They don't want a crime scene. And that's the thing you've never heard. The police and the DA does not want that to be a crime scene.
And the reason we've never heard it before is because it's absolutely ridiculous. It's absolute rubbish, Armchair Detective. Do you realise what you're saying? That the DA and the police colluded with each other? Really?
Because if it is, Christopher Watts can get off. It can't be a crime scene. It's not like inefficient police, pathetic police, rubbish police. There's a frigging reason.
Well, you've soon changed your mind, haven't you, AD? You've accused the police of all sorts of incompetence. You've also accused the DA of gross misconduct, which is a huge accusation to make. Huge. And don't deny it, because I've got it all recorded.
The crime scene ruins their case.
You don't know what evidence they've got. You have no idea. Really? It doesn't ruin it. It may not entirely support their case, but it certainly doesn't ruin it. And they did take forensics. You don't know what the results were, though, AD, do you? They took adhesive lifts from his truck. They had a forensic analysis, Dave Yoakum, in the house, the hall, the stairs, the bathroom, the bedroom.
The truck as a crime scene ruins their case. There's no body fluids, there's no hairs, even though they said there was. There's no hairs, check this. There's no DNA, there's nobody died, there's no dog alerts.
Just because there were no dog alerts doesn't mean to say that no one died in the house. Do you remember the Vanessa Guillon case? The dogs were literally standing on top of her body. They were standing on the burn site. Her body was underneath, and none of them alerted. In fact, they alerted down by the water, which was a complete red herring. They didn't alert anywhere near her body, though, and it was right underneath. They were literally standing on top of her.
The crime scene of the house and the truck ruins their case. They cannot go to trial. So what do? They close the whole thing down and hope to, if it goes to trial, to get the win on his confession.
So they're going to pin a huge murder case on hope. Mind you, a confession is pretty compelling, isn't it? But there is circumstantial evidence, AD. We don't know what physical evidence they have yet. Or we will never know, I guess.
And that's why there's a desperate scratch around to get him to take the plea deal.
Oh, neither the DA nor law enforcement was scratching around for anyone to take a plea deal.
They had no damn evidence.
Okay, so answer me this then, Armchair Detective. If there was no evidence apart from his confession, which is a whopper, why did the defence team come up with the plea deal? If there was no evidence or not enough evidence to convict him, why would the defence not go to trial then? Why would they not go to trial?
They didn't have a trial because they couldn't win. Because they couldn't win. They couldn't win. They could say he did it, but they couldn't prove to a jury of 12 men and women beyond reasonable doubt that he did this and acted alone. They had no proof.
They had a confession and circumstantial evidence, and if the defence team thought that the state weren't going to win, they could have gone to trial, but it was the defence team who came up with the plea deal.
So they had to close the crime scene down. And the reason the crime scene never happened is because the crime scene worked against the confession.
So you're telling me that the DA, the FBI, the CBI, Frederick Police, all colluded with each other to close down the crime scene? Really? Oh, AD, I don't know what planet you're living on.
And that's why we are where we are today. They're not stupid. Cops are not stupid. They know what to do with a crime scene. Believe it or not, they've been doing it longer than me and you.
What do you mean? You haven't been doing it at all. You're not a policeman, you're not a detective. You never were, you never have been.
They know you have to seal it, put the tape up, send in the experts.
And that's exactly what they did. Look, there's a call from Mr. Rzucek wanting to know why the house is taped off. He is calling from out of state and was advised of this by his neighbours. Or a neighbour, should I say, sorry. And crime scene analyst Dave Yoakum was on scene on the 15th. I requested CBI crime scene analyst Dave Yoakum, who assisted in the previous search of the house. That was when they were going out to Survey 19. They wanted Dave Yoakum to go out and do the analysis, the forensics out at Survey 19.
The dogs told them no one died in the house.
I've already been through the dogs. I'm not going to say any more about the dogs.
And they were stuffed. They had no evidence. They had Chris Watts' confession. Well, I told you before, he shouldn't have took the lie detector. He should have got an attorney and said, when I left home, they were all there alive. And all he had to do was stick to that. And I would say it had a better chance than any of getting off.
But he did confess, AD. That's the reality of it. He did confess. And a confession is extremely compelling in conjunction with circumstantial evidence.
What do you think? What do you think?
I think it's all a load of rubbish. I think you don't know what you're talking about. So I don't know what you're looking so happy about, Armchair Detective. That's what I think.
It's a totally different viewpoint than you've ever heard. No one has ever said this.
And I wonder why. Because it's all wrong. It's all a load of rubbish. That's why no one's ever come up with this theory before.
Everyone said it's a cover-up, it's to save money, it's to save NK, and in Darko to save money. No. It's because the person that was going to take them to trial said, I don't think we can make this stick.
That person didn't come up with the plea deal, and that is not what he said. And don't you think, with the amount of people that have been scrutinising this case over the last 2 years, would have found evidence of a cover-up of Anadarko? And don't you think NK would have been charged by now if there was any evidence of her being involved?
You better not collect any crime scene evidence, because your evidence will free Christopher Watts. It won't jail Christopher Watts.
Well, why didn't he go to trial then?
So the cover-up is the fact they didn't have anything. That's the cover-up.
Oh, no comment.
No, he did it all wrong. He's a schmuck. He did the lie detector. He confessed and all that. I know he did all that. But now he's realised it was wrong to do all that. And that's the truth, my friends. Okay, the agreement was a life sentence instead of the death. Sued everybody to close the book, to stop the case, to stop the clock, to finish it, because he knew he would probably lose the case, in my opinion. The real reason for the plea deal was because the evidence wasn't strong enough to convict. And that's something no one's ever said, but I'm saying it now. My reason for the C35C is exactly what I've just outlined to you. Case isn't strong enough. It would not stand up to a trial.
At the risk of repeating myself, why didn't Chris Watts go to trial then? Oh my goodness, why did his lawyers come up with a plea deal then if the case wasn't strong enough? Just before I leave it there, guys, I'm just going to show you a comment that he popped up on the screen, but he quickly removed it within a split second. Yes, Tammy and co would have found things with normal investigation, circumstantial. My point exactly. Okay, guys, I'm going to leave it there. So I shall say goodbye. I love you lots and lots, and I shall speak to you again very, very soon. Thank you for sharing your time with me. Bye-bye.